What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about 3 tips for quarterbacks to improve their throwing motion, okay? So we're going to be talking mainly about just the upper half, some of the things that you guys need to be able to do to improve your throwing mechanics, how you take this ball back, and to be a more efficient passer, okay? So I hope this video gives you guys some value, but also, fellas, with the season coming up, if you're a quarterback and you want to get better at reading defenses, you want to understand what to look for in specific coverages, how to read specific coverages, and what differentiates each coverage from one another, check out that very first link in the description, fellas, where you can get access to over 400 plus videos, all organized on our website on how to read defense. So we have playlists just like this right here. I'll highlight it and I'll circle it before. I see how it says cover 4. We have playlists on cover 0, cover 1, more advanced coverages, cover 6, and all the above, RPO, play concepts, and everything that you could think of to help you guys to read defenses. Over 400 videos of content, hours upon hours of film. And also, if you sign up for a membership, fellas, you can submit your film and I will break it down just like I break down the film on this YouTube channel and all my social media platforms. So very first link in the description to get access to film breakdowns and 400 videos on how to read defenses. Very first link below. Let's get started. So first things first, I want to talk about this backstroke, okay? So let's watch this clip from Joe Burrow. So the main thing I want to talk about is how when you take that ball back, you don't want to lift it straight to 90. That's a hell of a catch too, right there, by the way. But when you go back with this ball, so many quarterbacks struggle with how they hold it, number one. They'll hold it up too high by their ear, and we're going to talk about that. And what they'll do is they'll lift the ball straight up in the air, right? So you never see any NFL quarterback do that, but you see a lot of younger kids do that, right? I mean, it's because they've been taught wrong necessarily by like an old school coach. And the easy way to teach it is, hold the ball up by your ear and just go straight there. But that's not mechanically efficient because you know just as well as I know that you throw the ball with your hips and with your legs on the weight transfer rather than your arm and coming down on the ball, right? So now when Burrow goes to take this ball back, you see how he's in a relaxed spot. Anybody that holds the ball up by their ear, you have a real tense upper half. Your traps are tense, your elbows are tense, and you don't want to be tense when you throw the football because you're exerting energy at your upper half. So that's taking away from the energy you can exert from your lower half. Your body can only produce so much energy on a single throw to give you maximum velocity and maximum power on the throw, right? So you want to be very relaxed with how you hold this ball because it can get you to this spot, right? So everybody, we're going to talk about it later. We're going to take a look at Tom Brady's throwing mechanics, who has one of the best backstrokes in the game. But you want to get to this spot right here. This is what I call a backstroke, right? So what it means is you don't lift the ball. You get to some kind of opposite equal. Now, a lot of people call it the opposite L, and later we're going to talk about why you don't need to get to that specific spot. But you want to get to some kind of a position where you take the ball back. It's like almost like a half circle, right? Because when you take the ball back like this, your weight transfer and your hip drive, you see how Burrow's front hip starts to open up? That's what brings you up to that 90-degree angle. That's what brings you to this spot. A lot of quarterbacks try to manually get to straight to that 90, but it's the hip rotation. If you guys are at that like opposite angle, right? So you have some kind of a backstroke. Doesn't have to be a perfect L, but let's call it the L for right now. Let's call it this spot. You're not thinking about lifting it up to 90 degrees. No NFL quarterback, no college quarterback thinks about, okay, I'm going to go from L to L, right? They think about getting some kind of a backstroke in their hip rotation, which comes from the weight transfer with their legs, which means shifting that weight that you have loaded on your back leg to your front leg is what brings the arm up to the 90. So you don't have to think about getting to that spot because when you get to this 90-degree angle, that means that you're rotating. And when you continue to rotate, that's what gets you to this spot where the ball is trailing your back hip because you're transferring your weight. That's what allows your hips to rotate through, and you can have a nice, clean stroke, as some people like to call it. I call it a backstroke, okay? So that's the number one thing. You got to make sure that we don't lift the ball. We take the ball to some kind of a backstroke angle, and your hip and weight transfer is what gets that ball up to that 90-degree angle. And we're going to talk a lot about how that front side will play into that in a second here, okay? So I hope that makes sense. Let's watch the thing again full speed one more time. If you guys have any questions on that, don't hesitate to leave those in the comments below because I could definitely clear it up and get back to you guys. And as you can see, great ball, very smooth throw there from Burrow. So now we're going to take a look at Tom Brady. So the main thing that I want to get my point across here is that everybody takes the football back differently, okay? It's so many quarterback coaches get so caught up in making all their guys look the same, right? Oh, no, you got to do it like this. You got to throw it like this. You got to get to the perfect L, then you get up to the perfect 90. That's not the case, dude. Everybody's different. Everybody throws the ball different. You look at all 32 NFL starters, not 2 of them throw the ball the exact same. They have key specific points like weight transfer, hip rotation, front side discipline. They keep their head level, but they don't throw the ball the same. They all throw it differently, right? Justin Herbert throws it a lot different than Patrick Mahomes, right? Similar play styles, but they throw it very, very different, right? But they have consistencies like their front arm, their weight transfer, like I was talking about. So let's take a look at this clip from Brady. I want to talk about how he takes this ball back and he has more of the nose down on the throw. But obviously it works for him because he's the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, right? So let's talk about that. So when he takes the ball back, he has more of like, you see how he's got a little bit tighter of an angle. It's not that perfect L that everybody loves to talk about. He's holding the ball right about about here. And I know it's kind of blocked, but we're really just going to focus on the release. But when he takes this thing back, he's got the nose of the football angled down. He's in like a slightly, like it's more like it's not like a perfect L. It's not a 90. It's more of like a 45, but he doesn't lift straight to 90. He's got some kind of a backstroke. He's pushing his hands back. You almost want to think of it like you're separating your hands. You're pushing with your front hand the ball back you're pushing your backhand with your front hand, right? Because that gives you that backstroke. And now let's take a look at this. Look at the hip rotation from Brady. The hip rotation brings him up to that 90-degree angle. And now this back hip is going to be rotating through before the ball. Similar release point that we were just looking at with Joe Burrow, right? Front hand's nice and tight to his frame. That ball is trailing his back hip. This is the spot that quarterback coaches should be teaching, not how they take the ball back. People spend so much time on, oh, this guy's got to take the ball back here. He's got to do this. He's got to do this. If you have some kind of a backstroke and your hip rotation brings you up to 90, that's when you don't have a problem, right? Don't let people try to make you look like everybody else. Focus on using a throwing motion that works for you. That's efficient and that's quick, right? So this is just to highlight you that Tom Brady throws the ball a lot different than Joe Burrow, right? Aaron Rodgers has a much tighter backstroke. He just doesn't lift the ball straight to 90. It's a half circle, fellas. You're making half circles with your backstroke. Your hip rotation is what brings your arm up to that 90-degree angle. Let's watch the thing again full speed. So main purpose of this clip is just to show you guys that it does not have to be one way. There are many different ways to throw the football. There are many different arm slots that you guys can do. Just focus on applying the key consistencies that you see from some of the best guys in the world to your game. Hip rotation, weight transfer, front side staying disciplined, head staying level, that release point, your back hip coming through before your throwing arm. Those are the main things that you have to focus on. Let's watch it again full speed one more time. Make sure, fellas, that we get to a backstroke and the hip rotation brings my arm up to that 90-degree angle, okay? So now, let's take a look at this story from Josh Allen. Now we're going to talk about that front arm. So you see when he takes the ball back, he drops it a little bit lower than a lot of other people, right? And a very accurate ball right there. So when he goes back with the ball, you see how he doesn't go straight back like Burrow. He doesn't have a tighter angle like Brady. He drops the ball a little bit lower, but still a backstroke. You see how he's pushing the ball back with his front hand, that front shoulder slightly closing. But the main thing I want to focus on here is his front arm, okay? So now, a lot of people struggle with this with their throw. They are very inconsistent with their throw because when they go to rotate through, you see how, again, front hip is opening, back hip is going through before the ball. And you want to think about, a lot of people ask me, what should I think about, my front hip opening up or driving with my back hip? It's both. You want to pretend like you got an axis down the middle of your body, like a pole's going down the middle of your body, and you got to rotate down that pole. You get your belly button to the target, right? It's both hips that need to rotate through. But now, let's talk about this release point right here. So you see how he's got a very clean release point where he's letting go of this thing. That's pretty much the spot that you want to be at, and that all comes down to your front arm. So if you want a better release, you want a better release point, it has to do with your front hand. So what a lot of people will do, your body's split down a midline as a quarterback. So what a lot of guys will do in the old school method was your power comes from this elbow. You want to swing your front elbow down to your hip, right? But when you swing your elbow down to your hip because your body's split on a midline, what do you think that does to your release? Your release is going to shoot high. Your release is going to come out here and come outside your frame. And if you release it too early, it's going to sail. If you release it too late, you're going to come down and across like a baseball pitcher, and it's going to go down into the ground, right? So you see how he does a very good job of keeping that hand by his face. I say it's like you're eating a sandwich, right? You're eating a burger, whatever it may be, but you want to keep that hand tight to your face and your shoulders and your hips stay in this square position, right? Because number one, that'll give you torque. If you're rotating through with your hips and transferring weight and you don't swing that front hand out and you stay square, that's that like snappiness or that crack of the whip that a lot of people like to talk about with that front side. Now, another thing that guys will like to do is for power, they'll rotate and replace. So you see how his back shoulder is pointing at this coach with a mask on? This front shoulder, a lot of guys will swing that front shoulder around so it's pointing at this coach right here. But what happens with that is, again, your body's on a midline. If you continue to swing this around, what do you think is going to happen to your arm because it's split down a midline? Your arm's going to go like this, and that's why guys throw sidearm. That's why on the deep ball, guys can't get that nose to turn over because their front side is undisciplined, and they like to swing it out of there because they're doing it for power. And then if they release it early, where do you think it goes? It misses right. They release it late. They come across their body and they cut and they miss to the left, right? So you've got to make sure that we are disciplined with that front hand if you guys want a better release and you want a more consistent throwing motion. Let's watch the thing again full speed one more time. Josh Allen's a great guy to check out for that specific aspect of the throw, okay? Great job by him dropping this thing right in the bucket and giving Diggs a chance downfield. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comments below. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Always appreciate the feedback you guys give. Helps me come up with new ideas for videos, so I definitely appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, like I said, leave those in the comments below. And also, fellas, if you want over 400 videos on how to read defenses, you want to be able to send me either your game film, practice film, film of you throwing your throwing mechanics, check out that very first link in the description. Sign up for a membership on our site. We'll really give you guys a lot of value. Everything quarterbacks need to succeed at the next level. Check that out. Very first link below. I'll see you guys next time.